What's going on, everybody? It is your boy Los back with another episode of the week after. Almost messed up and said 54 yards there. Well, technically it is 54 yards, but it's 54 yards the week after. But back with the second episode. A lot of good games this weekend. Some upsets. Well, I guess one upset. And then there's a few other close upsets. But I'm here, none other than with the co-host with the mostest, Mr. Cam Theory himself.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the week after. This week was kind of I wouldn't say like underwhelming, but I guess underwhelming in a sense. Like there wasn't really those prime time games, and then also when you had the ranked matchups, they're pretty lopsided for the most part. So super excited, super great.
It was just seeing some of the bye weeks are kicking in, and then now we're starting getting thick of conference play. So I think that's more of what it is, because we're in what week?
That, and then you're having teams that have bye weeks, and then like the way the schedule is programmed, you're going to have a lot of the good teams playing later in the year, and you're going to have like teams having bye weeks or teams playing some easier teams. So all in all, it was a good week. It was still college football. Like, I'm going to be grateful for that. And teams are starting to knock each other off. Like, essentially, there was a couple playoff games this past week. I mean,
yes, there was.
So
let's jump right into it. I think you kicked it off last week. I'll kick it off this week. I'll keep it short, simple. One on the road against Vanderbilt, which a lot of people said Vanderbilt looks legit and they're a promising team. And then I said on last week's episode that we're going to turn them into a team to ruin people's seasons.
Mm-hmm.
So went on the road. It wasn't a tough environment at all. I mean, you saw the crowd. There was a lot. I mean, almost the whole side of the opposing bench was Texas. So we traveled well, and we both said that we would. And it was just a frustrating game, really. The score doesn't really like it. It looks a lot closer to what the game actually was. We just kept shooting ourselves in the foot, especially on big plays. But there are some calls that were made that I was like, that's not holding. That's not whatever. It was mainly holding calls. We had like 8 penalties for like 100, or 9 penalties for like 100 something yards.
Mm-hmm.
Quinn had 2 turnovers. Both of them were batted balls. The first batted ball, I would say, is not his fault. I mean, it was a RPO. It was a play action, actually, and the defensive lineman just blew up the offensive lineman and got straight through. Like, as soon as he like fake handed the ball off to the running back, the dude was basically already in his face, and he just threw it, and then he hit the ball in the air, and then they caught it, and I'm pretty sure that's how they scored a touchdown. And Quinn threw another pick that was batted, and they got that ball as well on our side of the field. So both their picks were like on our side of the field, and that's how they scored touchdowns. But nonetheless, I felt like we did a pretty good job of holding them, so to say. We can look here. I'll go to the box score real quick.
Yeah, I mean, they're well coached.
Yeah, they
Very
are.
scrappy.
And I said during the game that the coach is going to get poached. But Diego Pavia went 16 for 29, 143 yards, 2 TDs, 2 picks. A lot of these yards came in the last drive of the game for them.
He had a good performance on the ground.
He did have a good performance on the ground. 16 carries for 67 yards, and he rushed for a TD. I would still say we did a good job of containing him, like running. I mean, 60 carries for 64 yards. That's not. I mean, I guess he's getting 4 yards a carry, but when it comes to the passing, we're pretty much shutting it down. So, like I said, the game was a lot closer than what it actually was. Got the win, got the dub on the road. We took care of business, and it's on to the next. So
I like DeAndre Moore. I thought he played really well.
He played very well.
Shout out to the boy. I had a chance of watching him train with Del Fonte this summer, and from there, I thought he'd be a good solid piece, and I'm excited to see him get more targets. He's kind of playing that Jordan Whittington role, kind of just scrappy, blocks well,
Yeah,
culture guy. So
yeah. He
it's good to
blocks
see him
very
get
well.
rewarded. Yeah, it seemed to get him for him to get rewarded and also show his playmaking ability. And yeah, I mean, it was a good game for him, a coming out party from him. And one thing I wanted to ask you is, a lot of the Texas fans, like the casual Texas fans that I see on social media and things like that, they're getting mad at like Quinn, for kind of being like essentially a check down merchant now. And the stat came out that he is 79th for 79th in deep pass attempts, or like that's where he ranks per pass attempt right now in the country, I guess, of like rated QBs. Yeah, right here, Quinn Ewers, average depth of target is 5.9 yards in 2024, ranking 79th of 79 out of the Power 5 QBs. So I had a question for you. Does that bother you at all? Because when I watch the film, I think he makes good decisions. I mean, Vanderbilt's playing too high safety, rotating into cover 3 a lot, and they're kind of taking away all the shots down the field.
You can correct
You know,
me if I'm wrong,
so I
but
was curious what you think.
when they're playing too high safety and going to
Mhm.
cover three, a lot of
Yeah.
the stuff mid to deep is pretty much blocked off, right?
Well, yeah, essentially, I mean, it depends on the route concepts. You're going to be taking away a third of each portion of the field. However, I do think there probably is stuff underneath, maybe like 15, 12 to 15, that
Yeah,
intermediate
but like
range.
that 20, that midfield, which is 15 to 20 yards,
Yeah.
30 plus is the long yards. That's
Yeah.
kind of taken up, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, they're
Yeah.
preventing that. They're preventing those
So
plays.
why would you not check it down to your running backs, who's going to get you at minimum 5 yards? At
Mhm.
minimum, when you're getting 5 yards of play, what more could you ask for?
Yeah.
I don't care that you're checking it down. I just care that you complete the ball, we move the ball down the field, and we score. You can
Hmm.
check down as much as you want. I don't
Hmm.
care. If they're not going
Hmm.
to cover it, and with the backs that we have who do great coming out of the backfield and catching the ball
Hmm.
and getting yards after contact, even when somebody does hit them, I'm going to take that 10 times out of
Hmm.
10. That's just me. You can
Hmm.
get mad all you want. I don't care. I would much rather have that than have them forcing something down the field that isn't there, or thrown into double coverage,
Yeah.
or with the safety spine over the middle. You don't really see him, and he comes over and picks the ball.
Yeah. No,
That's
I
just what
agree.
I'd rather have.
I agree. I think the casual or not NFL, the casual college football fan, and especially now that y'all have Arch, and I think what people are saying are like, oh, Arch, there was like he takes all these shots, but it's like, yeah,
But that's
that's the difference between the two QBs. You can't just take shots every play. Like you got
but
to
I
be able
think
to.
the other thing is I feel like Arch takes shots just because he's young.
Exactly.
Like I don't know if he feels like he has to get all in one play, but he just takes shots because he's young. And
Mhm.
I mean, I'm not gonna say he doesn't understand um, that like that
It's just
doesn't
being
always
a
have to
young QB
happen,
with
but he's just young.
a strong arm and wanting to make every play. That's kind of what you do. Is it's like you're like, all right, well, I'm just most route concepts have this is what I don't think fans understand either. Most route concepts, there's an answer for everything. You're gonna have a deep route, you're gonna have something over the middle, intermediate, and then you're gonna have some kind of check down play to as your third option as a safety blanket to just have a safe, good completion and get yards. And if it's open, like you're saying, like half the time when he throws the ball to these running backs, there's nobody around the running back. Running backs being followed.
Exactly.
So it's like I think it's a good read. I was curious what you think because obviously I know you're actually a Texas fan and like the
Look at
fan base
this.
is kind of fighting right now between the QBs.
Trey Wisner, 5 catches, 39 yards, averaging 7.8 yards a catch.
Yeah, and it's like an extended route. Even
Like,
Jaden,
what are we? Yeah, 3 catches, 24 yards, averaging 8 yards a catch.
not Black as well. Isn't he like a running back type of guy?
He's a tight end. That was the one that came
Okay,
from Bama.
gotcha.
Um, but like, what are we talking about? Like
Yeah.
that's like I said, 5 plus yards that you're gonna get. You're getting 8 yards, almost a first down from your running back, and 7.8 yards, which is basically 8 yards, almost another first down from your running back. So why would you not just dump the ball off if
Mm-hmm.
everything's covered down the field?
Mm-hmm.
Who cares?
Mm-hmm. Yep. No, I agree. I was just curious what you thought because I mean I've been seeing that kind of on Twitter. Like everyone's kind of like tweaking out on Quinn lately, obviously since the last couple of games. So I've just been curious to see what you think.
Yeah, no,
But yeah,
I don't. I don't mind it. I don't care. But yeah, no, we won on the road, 27-24. The game was a lot. closer than what it should have been, but
Hmm.
we won, and that's all I care about. 1-0 on the
Hmm.
week, back to 0-0.
Yeah,
So
100%. So I got to do is move and keep going,
yes, sir, yes, sir, yes,
move and keep
sir.
going.
But y'all, on the other hand,
Hmm.
y'all moved. Y'all moved a lot more than what y'all have is in games past, but it was still an unfortunate
Yeah,
events, but it looked
yeah,
better.
yeah. It was
So
It
I'll
was
let
promising.
you touch on your Sooners.
Yeah, it was promising. I mean, a lot of people, obviously as Oklahoma, you expect to win every single game you go into. That's the standard, right? And we go on the road and we end up playing, really well, in my opinion. Jackson Arnold, especially for what's the circumstances. The offensive line hasn't been good really all year, but they made the most movement all year. I mean, we're going up against one of the best fronts in the SEC, and we were moving the ball, we were running the ball. I mean, Javante Barnes had a really good game. He had over 100 total yards. He had 5 catches for 57 yards, 11.4. And then he also had 16 carries for 67 yards, averaging 4.2 a carry. And even Taylor Tatum, excluding that bad fumble, still had 9 carries for 42 yards. So, like, we were running the football really, really well. And also Jackson Arnold. I mean, right here, it shows he only had 39 yards, but before all those sacks, he had like 113 rushing yards. So, take away the sacks and things like that, he was moving the ball as well himself.
I will say this though: 24 carries as a quarterback is crazy.
Yeah, well, a lot of that I think is charted as him like trying to escape and stuff, and it turns into a sack and whatnot. But he did have a lot of runs, right? He also played really well in the passing game for the most part. Was efficient with the football. Obviously, I would like for them to kind of create some more concepts for him to throw the football downfield. But all in all, I mean, still 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. You take that all day long, especially with how the offense has been turning the football over. My issue is just I think with the pass game a little bit. You have some obviously yes, you got the guys hurt and limited right now, but on tape, Brandon Thompson is open a lot, and I just don't understand why he's like the one guy we have right now that has true SEC speed on the field that can get open consistently. So I don't understand why he doesn't get more targets. Is it
He
route
didn't even have a
concepts?
catch.
No, is it route concepts? Jack's not looking at him, things like that. But all in all, I thought we played really well. If you look at Ole Miss's stats, I mean, we whooped their ass on the line of scrimmage, if I'm being honest. They only had 69 rushing yards on 31 carries, averaged 2.2 a carry. We had the 1 sack. What they got us was in the explosive plays. And they had 6 explosive plays, and we had like 13, which I'm going to say for people that don't know what explosive plays are, it's a play of 10 or more yards in a game. But on their explosive plays, they were a set of 10 plus yards, they're getting like 30 or 60 yards. So that was the difference essentially in the game. And we also don't score twice in the red zone, one being toward the end of the game and one being early on in the game when we went for it. Ball and all, I mean, we had the lead at halftime, played really, really well football, or really good football. That's something you can build off of. And, it's just interesting to see with a week of preparation with the new offensive coordinator in Joe John Finley, the interim, how much better the offense was. It was a lot more like Levy's playbook, a lot more tempo, just a lot more RPO elements, but like more tempo, more speed. And honestly, it's an indictment, I think, on it even shows how catastrophic really the Seth Luttrell situation has been to the team, to the offense, and things like that. There's been no cohesion. There's been, just too much. Let's do this week, and then not do it on game day, and things like that. One last thing I want to say is I thought the offensive line played really, really good until Jacob Sexton went out, and unfortunately, they're saying they're thinking it might be an ACL or something like that,
That's not good.
which sucks. But I hate it for the kid, but I thought he played his butt off, and once some of the younger guys got in the game, they kind of struggled, and obviously that caused some of the issues for our offense
I
a
mean, their
lot,
best receiver didn't play either. So that's
for
kind
sure.
of
Which is annoying because they kept talking about their best receiver. I'm like, shit, we got 5 out too. Like, let's not just cave for them. Like, if we had our 5 guys, I believe we throw for like 300 yards on them, 400 yards on them, because you're moving the ball with
maybe.
backups. I mean, we're moving the ball with backups.
It's hard to say just because there's just so much gray area still with the quarterback play. You just don't know if that's true or not.
Yeah, but it's really the O line. And even then, like, we're moving the ball consistently, and you have good O line play all the way through the fourth quarter with the receivers we have healthy. Oh, they're getting open all day. I mean, they're getting open now. Then this game, like you already know like what we can't do. So like the fact we're able to still move the ball with being extremely limited, that gives me immense
Yeah.
confidence. We had all 5 guys because it's not like we're missing 2 guys. We're missing 5 guys.
Yeah.
All like good to elite level players at that position. So, but all in all, I mean, Ole Miss, their team, like, we're kind of high on in the year, and I don't really see that much from them. I think it's playoff or bust for them, and I think they're going to be really bad the following years because they haven't been recruiting at the highest level like that, and you can't just keep transfer portaling kids consistently like the way they are. So I think when they play Georgia, I think Georgia's going to put it on them, and I
Oh,
think
absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to make the playoff. So
Other thing is Taylor Tatum has to stop fumbling as well.
yeah, I think there's a stat. He had like 10. I think in the Discord, people were, they were getting after each other, but apparently he fumbles the ball 10% of the time he gets a carry, which is just crazy. Like way too high. Obviously
For
the
it being
talent,
your best running back, that just can't be a thing.
yeah, and for him being like he clearly has the highest ceiling. I mean, anyone that watches football and knows what they're looking at, when he gets the ball, he looks different. He does create stuff. He makes people miss. He's good. Like he's clearly good, but you can't be a liability when you're fumbling the football, and then also when you can't even block in pass protection and protect people. So, all in all, I good performance from us. Obviously, you don't like the result, but I'm excited for next week. Against the team that's not good, which we'll get into later in the week, to kind of give the offense some confidence off of what they're doing and building. But yeah, that's just what I saw from my team. It's the expectations unfortunately right now are just to make a bowl game as catastrophic as that is. So once we can do that, kind of get guys healthy, you got to try to retain Jackson Arnold. You got to, if you got to up his pay or whatever you got to do, and you got to hit the portal hard with difference makers at the skill position, and you got to hit it hard with offensive linemen. Obviously, you're bringing in, Ryan Foje and Michael Fasusi, but you gotta really hit it hard if you want to continue to build off the defense. I think the defense will probably be better next year than it is now, just because of the depth pieces, and you're finally having more Brent Venables guys in the system that are just better recruits from the Lincoln Riley regime, like Woody Washington, and even as good as Danny is. Like some of the linebackers behind him that were recruited by Brent, like Lewis Carter, and some of those guys, like they have a higher ceiling than Danny. So
yeah. Sorry about that noise, guys. I was looking for something, so I apologize. But going on to some of the games of the week, this past week, we'll start with the early one. That was almost a close upset, which I thought the Syracuse Pittsburgh game was gonna be a lot closer than what it was, but it wasn't.
yeah,
Five interceptions. That's just not something that can happen for you to win a game. But UNLV Boise State, the game that kind of determined a lot for these two teams. They held. I mean, they. I guess you could say they contained Genty. He got hurt,
I mean,
right?
now he's just a little banged up. I mean, they contain him for who he is. He was
I
contained.
mean,
Obviously, like
3.9 yards is pretty good.
yeah, but obviously 130 is still crazy for any running back. So he still had a good game, 1 touchdown.
Off 33
But
carries though.
yeah, but they, he did well. I thought, he looked really good. I thought Boise State. I like this game for them because they showed that they can win without their best. And obviously, he still had a good game, but they show they can win without him being the focal point of the offense, focal point of the team. I thought their quarterback played extremely well. Obviously, he didn't. His box score stats don't really wow you, but I mean, I think he did. Like the run game is really what speaks out to me. I mean, he had a couple of scrambles there, 20 yards a carry where he just impacted the game with his legs. And, it was a tough game. I mean, UNLV is a really good team. They have a good quarterback themselves, good coaches over there. So, big time game for them. It sucks that they lost because UNLV, I mean, their only loss at the time was the Syracuse before this game had only lost one game, so like, and they beat, Houston on the road. They beat somebody else. I mean, they beat a couple of power 4 schools this year. So yeah, Kansas. They beat Kansas. Yeah. So like they have the
loss of
resume.
Syracuse.
They lost in overtime, so like that's the tough part about it is, even the loss of Boise State, it's not a bad loss. UNLV probably went out and they're going to miss the playoffs, unfortunately, just because of how it's set up. But, that's why they're going to probably expand it to 16 teams. So whenever they do that, then I'm sure, they'll be making it. But
Yeah.
yeah,
But
I thought they
hey,
looked
Boise
good.
State got the win, and that's all they needed. It looks like they're going to be the team to make the college football playoff.
Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully they don't choke, but I mean they should.
I mean, I still think they have a comfortable lead
Yeah,
to do it. Even if they dropped another game, I still think that they're going to be the team to
yeah, out the group of five.
make
Yeah,
it.
for sure.
But the next game, the game that I said that it can be close if their defense uh, steps up, and it looks like they did. Nebraska, Ohio State.
Yeah,
How do you feel about Ohio State?
I think they're a really good team. I really do. I mean, this is just one of those games where they come off a bye, come off a game where they lost to Oregon. It was close, emotional, but they have the bye week prior. And then they play a Nebraska team who just got slaughtered by Indiana, who is well coached. So they're going to be coming into this game knowing that they have nothing to lose, a point to prove, well coached team, a talented team too. So I expected the game to be close just off of those football factors and things like that. But I feel good about Ohio State. I mean, I think they still have elite personnel everywhere. Their defense is playing better. I still think they're a little susceptible to giving up some plays against some better teams. I mean, obviously we saw that against Oregon, but the issue with Ohio State really is that they just can't run the ball effectively. I mean, you have Quinton Judkins and Travion Henderson, two of the best backs in the country. I mean, look at this. Look. They only ran for 64 yards as a team. Both those guys had 10 plus carries and they averaged less than 3 yards. That right there just tells you they can't run. They couldn't run the ball against Nebraska. They got behind the chains and were forced to throw. Obviously, they can do that because they have elite wide receivers. But still, in these big time prime time spots, you can't run the football. Like, I mean, it's even showing with Texas. Obviously, y'all aren't struggling to that degree, but you can't run the football. The offense does not operate how it should. So that's kind of what I saw from them. And then one thing I want to say about Dylan Raiola is
Yeah, what do
I
you want to
think
say about him?
he's good, bro. He is. The thing that he's a true freshman, which I think people fail to realize, and he actually can play off script and make off script plays and do that. The issue with him is he just plays out of control because he's young. So he makes a lot of off script plays that he shouldn't be. Not playing within the offense, kind of doing things on his own, scrambling, trying. Which obviously, yes, you want to be able to do those plays like Caleb Williams, Patrick Mahomes, those guys, and that can help you long term. But he's fine, bro. I mean, he's a true freshman. He's gonna learn from these things. It's not the end of the world. It's not like he's been playing bad all year. He's had two rough games against better competition, but it's not like I don't really see it as an issue long term. I mean, he's young, so if obviously this is next year or something, then yeah. But he's got all the tools to be really good. So it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like there's a lot of throws, especially in this game, that he misses that could have ultimately won them the game. I mean, there was people wide open that he missed. There was that at the end of the game, the pass in the end zone, where
Yeah.
the dude was wide open and he threw it like 5 feet out of bounds.
Mm-hmm.
And then the pick was very bad. Um, it wasn't even like a competitive throw, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, he just doesn't. I guess the reason I'm so like, I guess he just doesn't jump off the shelf like a five
Mm-hmm.
star should. Like just looking in years past, like some of the other five stars.
I mean, I would counter that. He definitely does, bro. I mean, he's had games like that. I just think it's more so like what he's asked to do, and like a lot of these other 5 stars don't go to like Nebraska. Like I'm not saying they're like bad, like they're better now, but like they go to teams with other 5 stars, other
Yeah,
high blue chipper guys. So I just think his personnel isn't as good yet, and I also
I
just
will
think
give the benefit of the doubt that he is
you
in
know,
Matt Rule's offense, which is I feel like I said, defensive coach. I feel like they're more catered to the run game and like slowing the game down versus just
yeah,
letting them go.
yeah.
Um, but I don't know. I guess just trying to compare him to other five stars, it just doesn't
Which is fair. I mean,
jump off the shelf like that.
you look at it like a DJ Lagway, but he's in an offensive oriented system. Like Napier is a really good offensive coach. So like it just kind of it varies on like where you're at, and then obviously your personnel. But I personally like it. Like I like that he went to Nebraska and is trying to bring that program back. Like
Brother going
it's
there too.
yeah, it's just we don't I don't know how good he is, but
He's a
it's just
4-star, right?
Nah, he was unranked when I checked, but I think it's because that the class really isn't like they haven't like finalized rankings because he's in 2026. So I think like after the football season they'll like re-update it and then maybe he'll get ranked or something. But they only have like basically the 5 stars, the only people ranked in 2026, and then like I think probably top 100 kids probably are ranked in 2026 right now. So.
But yeah, that's just my only gripe about him. I just feel like he misses some throws and he just doesn't jump off the shelf for me. But I guess it's because y'all are just hyping him up so this much this offseason in this team. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know.
I mean, they're still 5-3. I mean, they've had a tough schedule. I mean, all their losses are to ranked teams. They lost to Illinois, they lost to Ohio State, they lost to Indiana. So it's not like they're They're losing games they're supposed to lose and are beating who they're supposed to beat.
Yeah.
So.
Next game, can't really touch too much on this one because it was just a blowout. Thought it was gonna be a lot closer than what it was, which it actually could have been. Is just the turnovers for Navy is what kind of hurt them. I mean, look, Notre Dame forces 6 turnovers.
Yeah,
Like you're not gonna win that many games forcing 6 turnovers. But some of the turnovers that they had were just like. Like that guy, he like on this play that just showed, the quarterback just tossed him the ball to run it, and he just hit him in the hands when they went forward, scoop and score. Like there's just stuff like that, just fumbles and picks that just shouldn't be happening. But this game was a blowout. They took care of business. They did what they needed to do. 12 carries, 102 yards, 2 TDs for the running back, and then Randall Leonard, 178 yards, 2 TDs. It was not a competition at all, which I thought it would be a lot closer than what the game actually showed.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, the roster difference is just it jumps off the tape. Like I was kind of saying in our preview show last week. I wanted to believe there was something there that was going to have Navy keep the game close, but the Notre Dame's is just. Unfortunately, with these service academies, like they can be good, but when they play them big boys, like it shows up. It does, and that's what happened. So.
Yeah. So. What was the next? Oh, this game. Which this game I did not watch.
Yeah, I watched bits and pieces of it.
Because it was going on while our games were going on, right?
Yeah, it was going on when OU's playing. It was in the early window. I didn't watch a ton of it. I haven't really had a chance to catch up on it on Wheels. Shout out Wheels. No for shout outs though. But I think Indiana, man, they're legit, bro. Because I mean, they played this game with their backup QB, and they took care of business against Washington. Is a good. I was telling Kat too. I was like, it's interesting seeing Washington like not being a favorite because they've just been so good the last decade. They've had NFL guys all over the roster, good team. So I was like, it's weird seeing them not favored in a game like this. But Indiana's legit, man. I feel like they've either covered the spread in all their games or, they've won by at least double digits. So it's not like they're just squeaking by. And I think they should be ranked higher, in my opinion.
Yeah, I thought they should clear the top 10. But
yeah, for sure. I mean, they're taking care of business. Every team they play,
as long as they win and they win the Big Ten, they're fine.
I mean,
which would be crazy to see an Indiana as a top 4 team.
That would be nuts, bro. And it's possible. I mean,
like the Big Ten winners, Indiana.
Yeah, they're supposed to get their QB back soon.
They said he might play week 10.
Yeah, because the really tough game they have is Ohio State. I mean, that's the last team they have that's really, I think, tough on the schedule. Yeah.
I mean that game is going to be tough. Just it's on the road, and they
and Michigan State, they're not bad. Yeah, they're not bad.
Michigan still has a quarterback problem. They switched to another quarterback. They went back to Warren this past week.
Yeah, and they got the game at home too.
Yep. Purdue just is god awful.
Yeah, and even though it's a rivalry, they have nothing for them.
Yeah, and then at Ohio State, which, like you said, if Ohio State can't get the run game going, and all they got to worry about is the pass game, and it's kind of been shown that Ohio State can lose these games as long as you take care of business on their offensive end, and your defense can hold their own for a little bit.
Yeah,
the game could get scary for them.
Indiana's legit, man. Like I'm looking at these wins, they're just taking care of anybody they play. Like
Yeah.
splatter. It's like splattering though.
Like I
Like it's
said,
not. It's not
even
close.
with the backup quarterback, and
Yeah.
he didn't play bad either. Yeah, he threw a pick, but 11 for 19, 124 yards, one TD, and he ran for a TD.
Mm-hmm.
So efficient-ish. Obviously, you don't want the pick, but 11 for
Mm-hmm.
19, can't complain about that. Eight
Mm-hmm.
incompletions.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean they took care of business. On to the next. Still undefeated, sitting at the top of the Big Ten,
Mm-hmm.
which is surprising. Did not see that coming into this
Mm-hmm.
week. Um, but we already touched on OU, Ole Miss. Illinois, Oregon was a blowout. I thought the game was gonna be a lot closer than what it was. That was
Mm-hmm.
early. That was a 11 a.m. kickoff. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that game was a blowout. But Oregon's
Yeah.
handling business,
Oregon's
and I don't
handling
think they
business,
have
bro.
at
They go to Michigan
Michigan.
this week, which will be tough,
So
just
they're
because
only if they do lose a game, it kind of seems like the only one will be
it would
Big
be
Ten
this.
championship.
Yeah, or I mean, I could see them. Obviously, I just
I
think
mean,
they're
it's
way
still at
better.
Wisconsin and at
That's tough.
Michigan.
And then Washington is a rivalry. Like at the end of the day, like Washington isn't like horrible, so they could give them a run for their money. And it could be a weird spot because they got the Big Ten championship looming if they're undefeated around that time, and you don't want to get people hurt or what. I don't know. Like who knows how it's going to be playing out now.
So how does it work? Because Indiana doesn't play Penn State and Oregon doesn't play Penn State. So if Penn State, Oregon, and Indiana are all undefeated, does it go off like points at that point since they don't play each other?
Yeah, I think it goes off of like how much you beat like common opponents and stuff like that. Um, I'm pretty sure there's probably like some Big Ten tiebreaker rules. Like I probably find those. Let me see.
Because I mean, they still got to play Ohio State,
Mm-hmm.
um, which is this Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously that could be completely different. But if they beat them, but like, I wonder how that works. Three undefeated teams, which will probably be the only conference with undefeated teams.
Yeah, I mean Big Ten tiebreaker rules. Let's see. I'm pulling something up. It says the tie teams will be compared based on head-to-head matchups during the regular season,
Which they don't have.
which they don't play. The tie teams will be compared on record against all common conference opponents.
Which they
Um,
all three play Washington.
mhm.
All
And
three play Purdue, I think.
yeah, they do.
Yeah, okay.
Um,
Maryland.
so
Indiana
you
play
compare
Maryland.
those. And then yeah, it says that the teams will be compared based on record against common opponents with the best conference record and proceeding through the common conference opponents based on their order of finish within the conference standings. So that you obviously want the teams you beat to continue to do well as well. So there's like 6 different scenarios. The last one being the representative will be chosen by a random draw among the tie teams conducted by the commissioner.
They might have to do that. They've all played kind of like Maryland. They've all beat Maryland.
Yeah.
They'll probably all beat Purdue.
Mm-hmm.
They're probably all going to be Washington. Like all their,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's tough. That
Mm-hmm.
sucks. Somebody needs
Yeah.
to lose.
Yeah. It's tough.
Yeah, that's horrible. I mean, I'm gonna ride the Indiana train. Obviously, I want them to do well. Them being
Mm-hmm.
Indiana, not a big name, not a
Yeah.
big football school. So for them to
Mm-hmm.
do go in the Big Ten, especially and do well and win it,
Mm-hmm.
obviously you got to pull for them.
Mm-hmm. No, 100%.
Which don't
100%.
expect them to be good for too long because that coach could
Mm-hmm.
be bye bye soon.
No, I agree.
The way this day and age works. Um, but on to the next. This game was not even close. I think Cook started the game,
Yeah, he did.
but it
He
looked
ended up getting
completely
knocked out.
horrible.
Yeah,
And then he got hurt again.
he
I
got
don't
hurt
think he was
again.
ever healthy to begin with.
Yeah.
But you just kind of have to play this game just because you still only have one conference loss, and they have two conference losses. So your hopes of the SEC championship were still
Mm-hmm.
there, but now with the loss, they're just kind of dwindling away. So I feel like he had to play this game, but it was never close. Bama was in control the whole game. They kind of did whatever they want to an extent.
Yeah,
So
he
yeah,
might be out for the year too, which I don't know.
he
Like
hurt
if
his
he
ankle
will
or
be
something, right?
that, and then I think it's his hand or something. Something else is messed up, right? What is his actual injury? It's like, let me see. Brady Cook injury. Yeah, let's see what it says. It's like a hand injury, hand and ankle, and a high ankle sprain. So he's got like multiple things going on. And Drew Pine experience. Yeah, that dude isn't good enough right now. At least I don't know, like but
6 for 12, 42 yards, 3 picks.
and shout out to that boy Eli Drinkwitz for kicking or not kicking a field goal like he did against A&M, getting his courtesy 3 points. He actually went for it on 4th and 1, knowing that obviously the game is impossible, but to win. But like, come on now, like you don't want to take your courtesy 3 points just to say you scored. Like it doesn't matter. So like at least go for it. And he did that. He learned that from his butt whooping against A&M. And you know what I'm saying? After we take care of business with Maine, we going out to Columbia, Missouri. Got him at night. You know what I'm saying? It's time to get this get back. So we haven't even played them in a while, but it's get back for all this nonsense we've been dealing with and recruiting with against them. So, I'm looking forward to the game. I think we'll match up well with them, and we got Farouk and some guys maybe coming back. So, hey, it'd be nice.
And y'all probably want to win that game because
we need to.
someone on their offensive line kind of said, I'm out.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that dude doesn't even start right now. So I mean, hey, Caden Green, you wanted to go there to play. You wanted to go there to play tackle. You got put at guard, and now you're not playing. I mean, hey, whatever.
Sometimes the grass ain't green on the other side, huh, Kim?
Yep. Sometimes the grass is not greener. But hey, one quick thing is shout out to Alabama defense, played a lot better. Obviously, yes, the QB got hurt for Missouri, but they played a lot better. This is a nice bounce back win after kind of some of the tough losses they've had in the last couple of weeks. So
in this game, I don't even think I don't know. Hey, Miami, Florida State. This game was just.
That was
it was what it was supposed to be, and that's all I got on that. But of course, the Florida State scores on the most craziest of ways for their first touchdown. What was it like it's like a 67-yard run or something like that. I forgot what it was. But Florida State fashion. But before we get into this last and final game, is there any other games that you want to go through that you saw? The Penn State Wisconsin game was pretty close until the end. Wisconsin couldn't just move the ball enough down the field.
It was the pick. It was the pick.
Oh, the pick six. That's what it was because they're winning. Coming out of half, they're up 10-7.
10-7.
Yeah, out of half. So they had the lead, and then the pick six is what kind of like sealed the deal. That's what it was.
Drew Aller got hurt, and then backup came in. He played good football. So I mean, Penn State, they handle business. That's a good quality Wisconsin team, and it's a good win on the road for them.
They're with their backup quarterback too all season.
Yeah, so good.
How long is Drew Aller hurt for?
I'm not too sure. He was like moving around and stuff, so I think he'd probably play against Ohio State.
I mean, you got you right.
They probably looked at the situation. They probably felt like even though they were losing, they probably felt like they could win without him. To try to get him back for the Ohio State game. I mean, he's got to play. This is the biggest game, and they can't ever beat them.
Yeah.
Ever. So.
And then I don't know if you watched this one, Kansas State. Looked like a close one. Kansas State ended up pulling it out 29-27. They scored 6 points in the fourth quarter to ultimately give them the win. Was this just a different Kansas team, or was it just kind of
the game
Kansas State being Kansas State?
It's just a rivalry, like they're gonna play their ass off. Kansas has had a bad year, but there's nothing you want more than to spoil your rival season when they're having a good year and you're struggling. So they just came with it, bro. They played really well. I mean, that's all it was in my opinion. I figured the game would be a little close. It's usually close, and Lance Leipold is a good ass coach at Kansas. So he was going to have them ready to play. This is honestly, in my opinion, these two coaches at these schools, some of the best coaches in the sport. They're just not at the
Kansas has to get just a better OC.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah, they lost him. Obviously, he went to Penn State, and look at Penn State. They're doing a lot better this year on offense. So it's like Kansas,
that's like the sorry to cut you off, but that's like the only shitty things about being good is you just get poached. So like this seems like Kansas, it seems like Indiana, Vanderbilt with these good coaches. Yeah, like they're only good for such a short amount of time because that coach is just going to get picked up from somewhere else. That's the only shitty thing about being a good coach.
And then the only way they can sustain success is if you do what if Iowa State or Matt Campbell does what he did at Iowa State, and he stayed there when he could have left. And obviously he had some years where it was like, oh, Matt Campbell should have took that job elsewhere because Iowa State just can't bring in that talent consistently. But he believes in his philosophy. He believes in his program. And every 3 to 4 years, when their players are fully developed, they got a lot of seniors, a lot of old people on that team. They're usually really good. And what this year is one of those years. And now in the expanded playoff, which I think is good now with the playoff expanding, I think there's going to be more coaches that just decide to stay at these teams. Obviously, they might not have the money to pay them certain salaries. Maybe it'll increase down the long, later on. But I think now these coaches are like, well, hell, I could be at Indiana and I can make the playoff. I don't got to go to Ohio State to make the playoff where there's a ton of pressure too. That's another thing. Like these coaches are, good at these schools. They essentially build these programs to being, contenders in their conference, if not playoff contenders. And they kind of control the narrative, kind of control the pressure because they're the one that got them there. So they create the expectations. As if you go to an Ohio State or, a Bama or Texas or Oklahoma or Florida, you got immense pressure. You have to win or you're gone, So like, I feel like that might, play in factor too. So there might be some coaches that are like, no, I'm good on that. I don't need all that pressure.
Yeah. So that's that. Yeah, that's that thing.
Mm-hmm.
The final other game, which was a big one, could have been a big upset, was SMU Duke. Went into overtime. SMU pulled it out 28-27. Good win for them on the road. Obviously, we've been cheering for SMU the past 2 seasons just because, like I said, they're one of the smaller schools with a good coach and another coach that decided to say that probably could have went somewhere else, got a fat contract, which they're one of the few smaller schools that can afford it. But bigged up for them because Duke was undefeated for a while. They're still a good team. They got a good defense. Offense is kind of shaky, but like you said, 27 for 48, Malik Murphy. Like that's not a little over 50%, 300 yards, 3 TDs. So their offense isn't great. But SMU got it done and they took care of business overtime. I don't know if you watched the game or not.
Yeah, I did. I ended up turning to it last minute and watching overtime. SMU, man, shout out to them because Rhett Lashley's doing a good job, and I like what he said in his post game interview. SMU turned the ball over 6 times.
Jesus.
So he said it. He was like, we didn't deserve to win. He was like, that's a good football team over there at Duke. And he sounded like a pissed off coach that was going to lay into his team, even though they won the game in the locker room, which I really liked because if SMU is a team that's a playoff contender, ACC title contender, that's the mentality you got to have. You can't just be, oh, we won the game, like yay, like you got to have that mentality because they're going on the road this week or they're playing Pitt at home, in essentially a playoff game, especially right with how the ACC is right now at the top. So he knows like you can't turn the ball over 6 times against Pitt this week. Like you're not going to win the football game. So I liked what he said. I think SMU is it's kind of crazy that they're already making noise for year 1 in the conference. It kind of is an indictment on how poor the ACC is kind of been over the last years. Like a lot of people used to give us crap saying the Big 12 was better than the ACC, but I do think it is. Obviously you got some good teams in the ACC right now with Clemson and Miami, but after that it's pretty the middle to bottom half.
Yeah,
pretty bad. So
the only problem is SMU just gonna have to pray that South Carolina wins, or maybe that game on the road at Pitt. Oh yeah, that won't even matter. Yeah, you're right. So maybe at Pitt or at Virginia Tech are the 2 games that they're gonna have to pray for. Because Miami's schedule is kind of.
Virginia Tech is sneaky. You see, they're 3-1, bro.
Yeah.
That's a sneaky game against them.
That's what I said. You have to pray on that game or what was the other game? At Pitt. So and then Miami, the Duke game's not going to be hard. The Georgia Tech game could be hard, but I don't think Georgia Tech's offense is going to be able to keep up. Wake Forest, easy. At Syracuse, maybe. Like I said, if you can put some points on Miami's defense, you have a shot.
And Syracuse will be able to do that as long as Kyle McCord doesn't have
throw 5. I don't think that'll happen again.
They'll be able to do that because they have a good offense, and the Miami's defense is pretty suspect. So
yeah, so for SMU, they got to win and pray on other people's downfall because I don't think they have I don't know what their tiebreaker is, but if they go undefeated, Clemson
Hmm.
and Miami go undefeated, it'll be interesting as well.
No, for sure. I
Um,
agree.
but last but not least, the big game of them all, kind of the game that I think we'll just kind of talk the most about.
Hmm.
Um, which you're kind of get on my ass after the second half, but I just saw
Nah,
it. I knew it. I just knew. I
you're
just
just
knew.
you're just negative.
But I just knew. You can't. All right. When you give a team like that momentum
Yeah,
with those fans,
yeah.
you're just kind of you're screwed.
No,
That's just, that
I would agree.
you're screwed. You're effed.
I would agree.
But LSU versus A&M,
Mm.
it's always a great game. Remember, I don't know what was it like 2016, 2017. They both were scored like 70 points on each other.
Hmm.
They always have great, just historic matches. But
Hmm.
um, night game, it looked like LSU was just gonna not run away with it, but just take care of business on the road. Get out there with the dub.
Hmm.
But second half comes, adjustments are. I won't even say adjustments were made, but second half comes and it's just a totally different ball game.
Yeah.
They
Hmm.
outscored them 31-6 in the second half,
Hmm.
as an A&M, and they look like a completely new team. I'm gonna say that I'm not gonna say LSU's defense lost them the game just because it's hard to adjust to a quarterback of that caliber that quick,
Yeah.
who can run that fast,
Yeah.
versus a quarterback that you prepared for who doesn't really run at all. Um, but
Bro,
the
he is
three
fast as
pick,
hell.
oh, he's fast as hell. But the three picks that Nussmeier threw were very bad picks. Like they weren't like they made a play type picks. They were picks
Yeah.
that were like right to them.
Yeah.
That's what they were.
Like gifts.
Yes, that's what they were.
Yeah. Hmm.
And I think two out of the three picks were on A not A&M territory, right, or LSU
Yeah.
territory.
Yeah. He threw that one where he's trying to throw that screen to that running back, and then he threw. I'm trying to think.
Like they
I know.
gave them the ball on their side of the field
Yeah.
with like 20 yards or less, both for
Yeah.
those two times, and that gave them 14 points like that out of halftime when they were only down by 6. So they got that big swing, and
It was
that
a fourth
stadium
quarter.
that stadium just went absurd.
Yeah, it was that fourth quarter. I mean, look at that damn win probability graph on your screen. Like, I mean, they LSU had the game, and then fourth quarter hit turnovers. A&M got all that momentum. And it's just an interesting game, right? I think LSU did what they needed to do. They just turned the ball over. I mean, that's literally why they lost. Obviously, that too. Like, you turn the ball over, you're going to lose football games. And we were right, with our
Like I
analysis.
think this is literally one of them right here. It's the third quarter. Look where they're at. Look where they're at. He's rolling around, and then this is just that's not
Yep,
a
yeah,
that's not a good throw. That's not a competitive
no,
throw. That's not a competitive pick. And
yeah.
then
Like
look where
he's
they get the
gonna,
ball.
yeah,
Look where
and
A&M's going to get the ball. And then I
yeah,
think that's when Marcel Reed comes in.
yeah,
And
no,
then that's the
exactly,
first play and they score. Like you give
yeah,
them that like 7 points. So it's 17-14 at that point.
yeah,
Look, see, that's when Marcel comes in. And then I think the next drive they throw another pick, but on the opposite side, like
yeah,
on the right
yeah.
instead of the left.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And then
because A&M, I'm pretty sure LSU goes down and scores after this play. Maybe
no,
I know.
they don't score again until the
Yeah.
they missed the field goal. They missed
Oh,
three field goals.
was this the well? This is the one that hit him in the chest.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
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 See. Yeah. So that was another like they didn't turn the ball over, but they didn't even attempt to kick. Like wasn't even looking.
So
So
like LSU just kind of gave them this game. I'm
no,
not
for sure.
gonna. I don't want to take that away from A&M because they did play great and they made one of the hardest coaching decisions ever for any coach to do which is sit your starting quarterback in the middle of a game.
Mm-hmm.
It paid out for them. Paid off for them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I
Yeah, it's
think he's
hard.
gonna be
It's
the
hard to do
starting
that.
quarterback going forward. But I'm not gonna, like I said, I'm not gonna take it away from them. They still play phenomenal football. I think we can all agree that we thought Marcel Reed was gonna be the quarterback going forward after
Mm-hmm.
Connor Wegman got hurt. But
Mm-hmm.
Connor came in and
He played good against
And it's kind
Missouri.
of like you
So
said in other shows where it's there's just a lot of politics that go into it, a lot of stuff, a lot of deals and whatnot. Is why it's so hard just to make a quarterback change in this day and age of football.
yeah.
Um, so it's not easy, and they just have to have a good enough reason. And this was
Mhm.
a good enough reason. It's one of your rivals for the battle of first place of the SEC, and
You gotta prove it. Like you can't just pull the guy. Like
yeah,
it's and then something I think obviously Marcel Reed is super dynamic.
like look at that
Obviously,
pick on the screen.
yeah,
Yeah,
that was the one we were talking about. Yeah, just a bad throw. And that was another thing with Garrett Nussmeier. Like he played really well besides those interceptions, and they were just so like, just what are you doing with the football interceptions? It wasn't like that.
yeah.
That's and like you can clearly see his talent is ridiculous. I mean, he still threw for 405 yards, 2 touchdowns,
He threw
made big.
for 241 yards in the first half. One, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, yeah, and he's like making big boy throws all over the field. So obviously he's a really good quarterback. But he's also that was his eighth start in college football. So or ninth if you want to count his bowl game. So it's like he hasn't played a lot of football. I mean, he hasn't even started a full season. So the potential is clearly there. But that was just a game where it just showed. I mean, I like him a lot. I personally think he could come out this year because I think a lot of scouts like him, but he's not gonna. I don't think he's ready to start in the league right away. So if I were him, I'd stay. Obviously, like you're at LSU. Obviously LSU has a really high 5-star committed. But you're at LSU. You know you're not in danger of losing the job. Stay a year. Come out next year in a QB class that will be less loaded. The only person you might have in there with you is maybe Arch if he has a crazy year and wants to come out. But other than that, like he should be the clear-cut number one QB the following year after this year. And I like LSU. I still think they still have a chance to make the playoffs. They're going to have Bama coming up soon. They're 3-1 in the SEC, so they have to win out and clearly to potentially play for that SEC title. But they're going to need A&M to lose a couple of games, not just to Texas or whoever. They need A&M to
I mean,
lose to
their
South Carolina
their schedule's
or
very
something.
easy, so I don't.
Yeah.
I only see them losing one game, if at all, any games.
Yeah, I mean they could go lose to South Carolina. Going on the road there is hard as hell to play. They're playing at night. South Carolina has a crazy defensive line, and they have a great defense that could keep them in the game. Because like A&M doesn't really do anything offensively
So that's where
to like challenge like to really like feel where you feel threatened as a team
So these
playing
are the
them.
two big things for A&M that are going to be the reason that they lose either A to Texas, B in the SEC championship, or 3 in the playoffs, or even all 3. Well, I guess 2 because they can't make this championship. They lose to Texas.
Yeah.
But the two biggest things for A&M, one, their secondary. The secondary is horrible. It's not
Mhm.
good. I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, he threw for 241 yards in the first half.
Yeah.
If you can just contain that defensive line, that's
Mhm.
where most of their pressure comes from. If you can just contain them for all 4 quarters, you're gonna win the game. You're
Yeah.
gonna be able to push the ball down the field. You might
Yeah.
not be able to run the ball, but if you have a good enough offense, you're gonna be able to score the ball with your receivers. I
Mhm.
mean, what's his name? Aaron Daniels or not Aaron Daniels, Aaron Anderson
CJ
and
Daniels, Kyron Lacey.
well, CJ Daniels didn't play, but Kyron Lacey and Aaron, or he did, but he got hurt.
Yeah, he got hurt.
Um, Aaron
Yeah.
Anderson and Kyron Lacey, like they have 3 receptions, 126 yards, and I'm pretty sure Kyron has something along those lines too. 5 receptions, 106.
I mean,
Like,
yeah, let me see. CJ, yeah, he only had 17.
like
Caden Durham had
their
56.
their secondary is just not good. So
Yeah.
if you can attack that secondary, you're gonna win the game.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing is containing that D line. They're, in my opinion, they're if not the best, they're the top 3
Yeah,
defensive line in the country.
they're up there with South Carolina. South Carolina is
I
just
think
as
they're
good.
better than South Carolina.
Nah,
That's just me. That's just me. That's me.
maybe their interior. South
Um,
Carolina's edges are
that's the thing. Their interior
way
is
better.
phenomenal.
Yeah, but like I mean,
Um,
that's the thing though. Like you got to have. I'm not saying they don't have elite edges, but like that's why you can't throw the ball on them because like yeah they have a good defensive line, but they don't got some of the edges some of these other schools have when the QB drops
yeah.
back. So
So yeah, that, and then my second biggest thing about them is they don't have that what would you say that it receiver. Like their receivers are just mid. They're just kind of eh. They don't have anybody who's like a game changer that can take over the game for them. Like they
I
don't
mean,
have
they
like
do. They
the
just don't play him that much. They like Terry Bussey. I don't know why he like.
oh yeah, he's just a speed guy though. But I don't think he's like he's not
Well, they
like a
don't like.
Ryan Ringo or he's not like
Yeah.
Aaron Anderson or Kyron Lacey.
Mhm.
Both the receivers are Ohio State and Buka
Jeremiah
and
Smith.
Jeremiah Smith.
Yeah.
Even Bernard and homeboy at Alabama,
Yeah.
the freshman over there. Uh,
Yeah.
the guy that's hurt for y'all, I don't know why I'm blanking on names right now, but I was big. Nick Anderson. Like they just don't
Yeah.
have these guys that are just like difference makers in games.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah, like Bussey's he's fast, he's good, but I don't think
Mhm.
he's like a Zachariah Branch, I guess. He's just like he's that speed guy, but you can't like
Yeah.
that's not a guy that you can just throw to and depend on.
Yeah. That's fair. That's fair. I would agree. I just feel yeah, like their offense is they do run the ball really well though. Like both
I mean,
running
because
like
look at this. Noah Thomas, he got one reception. That was a big completion. I'm pretty sure
that was that
that
fade that old boy threw.
yeah that Marcel Reed threw,
Yeah.
and then that's a running back. I guess that's a receiver. That's another running back. Like they just don't.
Yep. That shows LSU turned the ball over because look at the yards. Like
Yeah,
it's just drastically different.
yeah. So, but look at their rushing:
Yeah, they
91
do.
yards, 83 yards, and I think I said that on the last call too.
Yeah,
Is their running game is really good as well.
yeah, they can run
Um,
the ball. They have a running back. They have a running back with 700 yards, and the other one I think has 400 or 500 yards.
mhm.
So they're running the rock really well.
Which Austin knows, but Le'Veon Moss is from Louisiana,
Of
and
course.
he probably would have had 100 yards, but he was dealing with some stomach issues, so that's why he also didn't play more. But obviously he didn't need to because
Yeah,
Daniels had 91 yards off of 12 carries. But yeah, those are my two biggest gripe with A&M. I guess not a gripe, but just some things that they should just look out for is A,
yeah,
that just receivers just aren't it. And B, their secondary is just not it. Both offensive line, defensive line, great. Uh, Marcel Reed, you don't really know too
hmm
much on him yet. We know he can run the ball. We know he's fast. But like,
hmm
how much can he throw the ball, and how effective is he with the pass game?
yeah,
Um, so is he just going to be like a running quarterback? Which he played a lot against Arkansas, and that was a very close game. But even then, like that's not good. 11 for
hmm
22, 50% completion,
hmm
163 yards.
yeah. He
That's
just
beatable.
yeah. As I'm saying, he doesn't. It's not enough. Like I mean, that's kind of similar to Jackson's stats. Obviously, Jackson threw the ball better than that, but yeah, you just that's not enough. I mean, most unless your defense is really good, like Oklahoma's or A&M's, you can. I mean, like look, they kept Arkansas under 20. You can win with that, but in the playoffs against championship caliber teams, you got to be able to score some points. You got to be able to throw for 200 plus. I would say to feel okay about the balance of your team on offense and moving the football and whatnot. I mean, against Florida, same thing. Like look, Florida scored 20.
I
You don't need
mean,
to throw.
even this play that they just showed, like look at this, look at this coverage,
Yeah, just wide open.
wide open.
Yeah, man, they ran for like 300 yards as a team that game.
Yeah, that's all they had to
That's
do. That's all they needed
that's
to do.
that's actually crazy.
That's all
That's
they
what I'm,
needed to do.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like they can run the ball, man. I mean that's gonna be they got the recipes to win a championship. They can run the football, they can play defense. However, the QB play is gonna be interesting
It's
because there's gonna be I
so
think teams
it's weird though because they have the recipe
yeah.
to like win the championship, but like I don't know. Like the game is won at the line of scrimmage, and they win the line of scrimmage,
Mm-hmm.
both ends of the football.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't have like a complete both ends of the football. Like their secondary is just lacking, and their receivers are just lacking. So it's like
Yeah.
yes, you have it, but you don't have it.
Yeah, team matches up well with them, like y'all, honestly, or I mean
I
even
mean, any of
LSU.
the top teams, like they're not. They I don't think they can compete with Ohio State, Oregon, maybe
They
Indiana.
match up well with Penn State if they got
Uh,
them.
yeah, Penn State that'll be a good game, but like
Yeah.
Georgia,
Nah, yeah,
like just
Georgia.
the top heavy teams, it'll
Mhm.
just be tough for them.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, hey, they like I said going into the season on
Uh-huh.
54 yards that we're gonna have 2 losses this year, and first one's gonna be Georgia, the second one will be the A&M.
Yeah.
So don't be
Yeah.
surprised if they beat us. Um, and I'm pretty
Yeah, it's
sure,
gonna be hard to play there for sure.
yeah,
It's gonna be
it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be hard.
yeah.
I'm confident that we can play there just because we went to Bama, we played, went to Michigan, and we played there. So
Hmm.
we've played in some of the biggest hostile environments.
Hmm.
Um, but we'll see. It's not. I mean, everybody always like I was one of them. Everybody always says, "Oh, it's A&M, A&M, A&M is so loud." But if it
Hmm.
was that hard of a place to play, they wouldn't have a at this point maybe a tied record, a
Hmm.
500 record um, at home. So
Yeah. No, for sure.
Appalachian State wouldn't have gone in and beat them.
Yeah. No, I agree.
So,
I agree.
um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, y'all stay tuned for this week's episode of 54 Yards of this game's coming this week. See, I mean, the biggest one's probably going to be that one, which an 11 a.m. kickoff is sick in the head.
Yes, I want that game. That game should be at night. It should be mandatory, and it should be a whiteout game. I don't know what they're doing.
Oh,
But
yeah.
you know,
What they're
Fox
white out
got
against
a
Washington, right?
yes. Our boy
Oh, my.
Shoney Jackson will be on to that game.
That is just, wow.
So
No, know
yeah,
what the Big
yeah.
Ten is doing. They're,
We're excited though. I mean, there's you have a bye, so you have the luxury of
yeah.
being stress free and just kind of
Yeah.
watching the ball. It is nice, and we have essentially a bye. I mean, we play Maine. I mean, obviously
I
we
mean,
lose
like I
that game.
said, if y'all lose to Maine, I just don't know what to tell you, buddy.
We won't. We're not losing to Maine. I
I'll
mean,
give you right here. You can just be right here.
the spread opened up to 34 and a half.
I'll
So I
give
mean,
you. I'll give you a shorter to crown right here.
we should
So
have 40
there's.
points at halftime. If we don't, I mean, and this would be a game that they need to pit up 80. Like fuck it. Like you've had a bad year.
Who
Like
did we have on the podcast? Does
for
somebody
80.
have on the podcast that play football at Maine?
No, Jake Wan. He played at Rhode Island.
Rhode
I think that's his name.
Island.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
Close
Yep.
enough.
Yep.
But yeah. I mean, you got Ohio State, Penn State to look forward to. Duke, Miami. That could be exciting. We'll see. I don't think Duke has the offense to do it, but we'll touch on that later. Ole Miss, Arkansas, tough place to play. Army, Air Force. Yeah, that is what it is. Oregon, Michigan, still at Michigan, still tough. No one's beat them there at home yet, so
Yeah.
we're still the only team to do it.
Florida, Georgia.
Georgia. I think Georgia's gonna bend them over.
Yeah.
This
Yeah,
game,
that's a
that's
good
gonna
game.
be the game.
As long as Tech doesn't choke like they did last week. That's what
Yeah,
they be doing is choking
yeah,
game. Yes, sir.
yeah.
Go
It's kind of
Gamecocks.
really. I mean, hey, Pittsburgh, SMU, big game. So there's some big games coming up. We'll touch on them.
Yeah.
On this week's episode of 54 Yards.
Yes,
Um,
sir.
But is there anything else that you want to touch on before we pop off on this call?
No, if you guys are new, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Let us know if you guys got questions that you want us to talk on and cover on, just leave them in the comments on this episode and we'll talk on them the next episode. Gonna be talking college football. The season's almost over, which is crazy. Playoff rankings are around the corner, so we'll be diving into those when they first come out and kind of going through our initial thoughts, reacting to those and things like that. But finally get rid of this AP poll, that y'all keep people complain about a lot. So exciting times. It's about to be championship November. Unfortunately for me, we're not going to be participating in championship November. This is usually the best time that the best football OU plays is around this time usually. So maybe that is the factor for us this time, just not with the championship implication. I'll take us, winning out, going 8-4. That'd be lovely. But if not, it is what it is. Just got to kind of build on momentum, take care of business, beat Maine this week, get more healthy. Another week to get healthy. Really, you got to treat this game kind of like,
The bye week is not in 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, so
like after Maine, right?
Yeah, you play Maine, play Missouri, and then you got Bama at home and LSU. The thing is,
but it's like Maine by Missouri, right?
No, Maine, Missouri by
Maine, Missouri by.
Yeah. So the thing is like if you can get to the bye, 6-4, right? And you got a bye to get healthy for the last 2 games of the year, and you got Bama at home. A team that obviously it's still Bama, but they are gettable this year, right? So like you got them at home, right? And you know, take care of business. You can feel good if you can just get to the bye right now, 6-4, get some guys back. You can even have these guys play and they won't lose in red shirt. These guys can play the rest of the year, especially you could have Farouk, Andrell, Burks, whoever play. And also, too, I want to see a lot of freshmen play against Maine. I want to see people because, like, it's not going to kill their, you know, red shirt. Get them some reps, man. Get them some live reps. You know, you go up by 40 points at halftime, put in people that we have not seen all year. Let's get some guys some reps, especially the young offensive linemen, primarily.
Yeah. So, yeah, that should take care of business. I wish we had one more week of football then a bye. Like if we just
For
got
y'all?
4 games then a bye. That would have been nice. I like that cut
Yeah.
there. Hold on, hold that up again.
Hey,
Hold that up again. Flip it over. Flip it over. Hey, hold on. What is this?
I'm just drinking water, bro.
Yeah, out of what though?
I think this is Oklahoma State or Oregon State. Yeah, so
Look like a UT Yeti to me. That's just me though. That's just me. I could be colorblind or something, but a little burnt orange.
Probably. This is the real orange. That Tennessee orange, you know what I'm saying? That good orange.
That was definitely burnt orange.
Well, that Oregon State, that Oklahoma State, you know what I'm saying?
Okay. But that'll do it from your boys over here at 54 yards the week after. We'll catch y'all guys next time. As always, welcome.
Boomer.